Hi everyone, this is our final video in this series on making this Battletop toy, practicing for the SkillsUSA technical drafting competition. You've made it very, very far, made some incredibly advanced parts. So if you've made it to this point, congratulations. In this video, this is where we have to do a couple of final things that we need to fix before we move on. Very quick, some things to address. One thing that I think needs to be done is before we make this, make sure you go into each of your parts. So I have my top parts. Make sure you go into your cone, change the color. Remember that changing the color is done by, well, make sure of a couple things. Number one, you go into each part. You make sure that the part name does match the part. So it doesn't say part 1 here, it says, like for this one, it says cone. Then change the appearance to make it a different color. I made it so that they are the same color as the parts throughout the original file, but you can make them whatever color you want. So make the part name into what the real name is, cone, and change the color. So I've done that for cone, done that for housing. I did that for ratchet. Make sure you do that too. All good. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go into housing parts, make sure that I have everything. Yep, spin pin, and it's green. I mean, again, it can be any color as long as it has the part name of spin pin, has the part name of trigger. You have a different color. Top housing. Yep, that's the title, and it is yellow. And bottom housing, yes, good. So I have all the parts. You should too. Make sure you have that. The second thing I wanted to go over that I did not address throughout any of the drawings is very simple through the title blocks. That's that these isometric views should be shaded. It's a very, very simple fix. Click on it, right click, and you should see shaded. Sorry, here it is. Show shaded view. This would be really good to do as well. Oh, I'm going to update it. That might be because I didn't update since I changed the color. There it is. I wanted to make sure that that was clear for us. This one as well needs to be show shaded view. Refresh. In case you might not need to, but I know I clearly needed to because it was showing. Top exploded assembly. Yeah, this I can turn into a shaded view as well. I need to refresh and do it in either order. Right click, show shaded view, but you get the idea. If the original document has shaded parts, you should be making them shaded parts as well. And the ratchet. Now I'm not going to go ahead and show you all of me doing all of them because you get the idea. Actually, as another reminder, I mean, we got to kind of see this in the previous video. When we were doing this one, I was having a bit of trouble with getting it in the correct orientation. So I think the way we can go about this is I'm just going to delete this one. I'm going to refresh, make sure everything's updated from the model. And I want to make sure that maybe I'll do insert view. Maybe I'll try isometric. Let's see if I get a good view here. Now that's the same one as before. maybe if I do front. Let's try that. So what I need to do is go through a bunch of the projected views and see if I can get the exact same one as over here. Now, I did mess up, and people have found that this was mirrored over, so I did insert some of these in wrong. So they're not going to be exact, but I want to get it as close as possible. So do be careful of that. That's the underside. So I think what I need to do is right click and or double click it. I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. And I think I should be able to get that projected view, that isometric view that I want. Yeah, that's pretty much it. One of those two. Now, keeping in mind that I would want the exact same one. I would want the exact same view. But the only reason for this one I'm being lenient on myself for that is because I did mess up the orientations of the rest of them. So that is something you should be careful of. I'll make sure I'm going to put this back down to 2:1. And make sure that these are shaded. Oh, I messed up. Oh, check mark there. Now these two should be right click, show shaded view. Good. This is what your sheets should look like. And this I should have addressed before. So be careful of the orientations that you're putting in. We did a bit better later on being more precise. But make sure these are shaded, oriented correctly. Make sure in your oh, there's so many parts. Make sure in your part drawings you have the part named and you have changed the color. Good. That is all that we need to address before making the final assembly. If you have those, then you're good to go. So let's click on New. We're going to do Create Assembly. And we need to insert, now we need to insert a bunch of parts. So we have to insert, well, everything. The only thing we're not going to insert are springs and screws because we didn't make those. Now, I'm not sure if you have a completed a top assembly like this one. I don't think we did that together. I'm not sure though. If you have it, open it. If not, I'm gonna put all the individual parts in anyway, and I'll show you how to put them. I'll put them all together from scratch. So all of these, we have a bottom housing, cone housing, ratchet, spin pin, top housing, trigger, everything. Click on the check mark. Good. I'm gonna move these around so I can see all my different parts. I'm gonna put all these together. So I'm gonna put the actual top together first. And if this is something that as I said before, if you had that completed assembly before, not the exploded one, but the completed one, you can skip this part of the video, skip ahead a little bit while I put this together. But if you haven't, then you can follow along. So this is facing correctly. Maybe we'll actually go to the top assembly page. So this is the way everything of the top should be facing. The housing is fine. Actually, I think I really should make everything the same orientation. So I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to go with, it should be 60 degrees. Yeah, 60 degrees. Click out of there. This needs to be orbited all the way around. So I need to flip that 180 degrees. Same, is it exactly the same? Not quite. That's fine. We'll have to leave it as is. It's okay. We'll leave it as is. Similar with the cone, we need to flip that all the way around. As for constraining these to each other, I'll drag that around. I need to use pretty much just two constraints, two mates, the slider mate and the planar mate. So the slider mate deals with one axis connected to another one. So the central axis of this cylinder, we're mating or connecting with the central axis of this cylinder. Good. I always like to click on solve and then check mark, because once you start having other, click on the X, once you start having other mates, the new mate doesn't always calculate what it needs to do to keep the other mate. So you have to click solve and then it'll update. Now that we've done the slider constraint, we can also lock in, or we do need to actually fix some of this in place, because I don't want everything to move. So I'll lock in the cone. So I'm gonna click on it and then right click on the cone and click on fix. So now only one thing is moving. And if I'm right, I should be able to, maybe I can confirm down here. I should be able to, where should this get connected? It looks like everything is flat right on the top. So I should be able to use the planar constraint, connect this face, maybe not connect that face. Maybe it won't be planar like that. Yeah, these two faces are now connected. But as I said, when you do a new mate, sometimes it doesn't figure out, oh yeah, remember we had that slider constraint. So click on solve, and then it connects everything together, and then the check mark. Good, next thing, it's pretty much all that again and again and again. So here we go, slider constraint, slider mate, that center with this center. Solve just in case, and we can move this up. And now I'm going to want the planar constraint for this. Connect this face with, I'm going to have to exit. I'm not sure why this got jumped down. And to try this again, planar constraint, click on that face, and then that face right there. Where'd it go? So sometimes find where you're orbiting. Do solve just in case, and then check mark. Good, so there's the top itself. Now we have to connect everything else around it. Curious if I can join everything as one. Maybe I can group it. Is there a way to group? It doesn't seem like it. Maybe I'm just missing it. That's fine. So I have that fixed. And if you already had this, done, that's fine. Just fix, click on your top. And if it's not fixed, make sure that you've selected it and then you click on fix so that this doesn't move. Everything else will lock into place over here. All right, well, what else do we have? We should have the trigger, well, as we can see, yes, the trigger is in there. Maybe we need to, yeah, we do need to get the trigger in there. So let's get that over here. We do need to orbit this. So how do we need to orbit that? Probably with this one. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. So bring that back to 0 degrees. So it must be this one here. That needs to be a 90-degree turn. I'm going to type that in. And then Okay, escape. These should be okay. I don't know why it's giving me errors. Anyway, I do need to bring this into place as well. I'll do I'll do two constraints as usual. Do a slider constraint between really any of these cylinders, because the central axis of all these cylinders is the same. And then in this cylinder too, solve and check mark, exit, and we'll slide that up. Then, and you will need to confirm when you're doing parts like this in the future. You will need to confirm if when you're connecting like this face with that one right there, that there's not going to be any intersections. So I can see, yeah, there's no, so that one doesn't make sense. So as well, I'm going to undo that. I think something's wrong there. So you click planar constraint. These arrows, these bits are going to lock in with these. That's how the top is going to be connected to the trigger. Now, I will say that as much as I am sure that this is correct or close to correct, it's not going to lock in. There are going to be some intersections. This face right here needs to be connected to not the top of the arrows because it needs to be alongside it, but right on this face here. Solve and check mark. So the arrows that were in the top on the ratchet are going to lock in with the points on the trigger. So that's the trigger, and now that can't be moved. That's all locked in. We do have the spin pin. Let's make sure the spin pin is in line. We'll do slider constraint. So this cylinder locked in with any of these in the trigger. They're all the same, central axis. Solve and check mark. Now I'll slide this, oh, I have to click exit. Slide this up. I need this rectangle to be lined up with that rectangular space that's right in there. So I will need a planar mate, but I do also need to rotate this because if I just insert it in right now, it's not facing the correct way. So I will click on the spin pin. I will rotate it 90 degrees. Enter. Oh, did you not like that? Let me try it again. 90. Oh, it doesn't like that at all. Click out of there. Why don't you want to rotate 90 degrees? Not happy with that. Okay, well, how about this? I will delete this slider constraint. Then I'll orbit it or rotate it 90 degrees. So for whatever reason, the slider constraint locked it in. But that's okay. I want to make sure I'm in the correct orientation. Well, it doesn't necessarily matter completely. But yeah, slider constraint, that cylinder. Make sure it's that cylinder here. Yeah, that one with this one. Solve and check mark. I'll exit and I'll pull it out. And I want to mate the planar. There we go. This bottom face with this face here. Solve and check mark. Good. And it fits in perfectly. Cancel that. What do we need next? We do need to get this housing in there. So I'm going to lock that in with the trigger rim on top. We will do, as usual, our slider constraint first, though. There's slider. We'll get this circle. this cylinder locked in with this cylinder. Solve and OK. And then just so I have extra space so I can see these faces, I want to do a planar mate between, why did you move? I'm going to exit that. I'm going to try this again, probably because I was still in the slider mate. Planar mate between this and that. Did it work? Nope. Nope, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. That's okay. I'll click on that. I'll exit the trigger and I'll try this again. Click on this one. There we go. Now solve and check mark, and there it is. Locked in. Perfect. And the last one, of course, is the housing. Sorry, the top housing. So we can do a slider constraint between any of the holes that are going to be connected. We have quite a few that will be connected. We could do maybe this one here. You can pick any one of them. But this one here, I'll do the frontmost one. And that one there will be slid together. Solve and check mark. Exit. And then I'll slide that top face up for our slider constraint. Sorry, planar mate. So we need to connect in on the bottom housing. We can get this, if we're doing the outer ones, the outer gaps. So that face right here, that's an orbit. And then we have to capture this dip on the top housing. Solve, check mark, and there it is. This is the completed Battletop toy. Completely done. Good, now how do we make this exploded view? Not hard at all, we don't have to make another assembly. Speaking of which, let's rename this to Final Assembly. Totally forgot about that. Final Assembly. There is an exploded views option over here. We can say add exploded view. And go into isometric view, yeah. Simply, so it says editing explode one. So we can start sliding things up. So I want that, and I'll use the arrow to pull it up. Okay, you click check when you're done moving. And now you are creating step 2. So now let's say I want to slide up the spin pin. So you click on the spin pin, move it up. Click the check mark. So we're still editing explode 1. Click on the trigger, move that up. Good. Click the check mark. We can keep the housing there. Let's take the entire, I'll orbit this now. I'll take the cone, move that down a bit, make sure there's room for the ratchet and the housing. We'll move. Oh, actually, sorry, in this one, we don't need to do that. I need to, so I can leave it as is, but I think I will move this down a little bit more. And then I'll move that, click OK. Just want to make sure there's enough space for everything and bring that down a little bit. And maybe even going back to explode step 1, I think I will bring that down. I don't think it needs to be quite as far. And OK. There's your exploded view. So you can click done. And if you want to activate it, you'd go into here. You'd right click on explode 1 and click activate explode 1. There you go. So you have the exploded view, exploded assembly, and the regular assembly. Let's make a, oh wait, before we do that, before we make a drawing, we have to make the bill of materials. Try to get it exactly like this one. So, oh, we do have part numbers to put in. What else? I'm actually going to go full screen for a moment so I can see more of this. What column? Maybe. So I need item number, which I have quantity, I have the name, which in OnShape is title 1. So I have to do add column, title 1. Oh no, there is name over here. Do name, and then part number. I can delete the description. Part number 1, yeah, I want all that. And I do want it in the correct order. So item number is first, quantity is last. So I'll right click on quantity and move right. I'm going to keep doing that. Quantity, move right until it's all the way on the right. And then part number is good, name is good. I just need to make sure it's all in the right order. So simply to do that, number 1 needs to be housing bottom. Okay, that's this. And then, so bottom housing is number 1, that's fine. Trigger is number 2, so we take trigger, we move that to the second location. Good, number 3 should be, we don't have the spring, so we'll leave that. The next one is the spin pin. Drag that up next to trigger. Then we're skipping spring, we don't have that. Housing top. Housing, top housing goes under spin pin. And in this case, yes, we should have made the top its own object as a separate assembly. So I will simply put these in the order that it was over here. So number 1 is housing, number 2 is number 3 is ratchet. Good, it's in all the right order. We do have to make sure we have the part numbers though. So bottom housing, just copy and paste. Oh, can't do that. Okay, so what we need to do is right click on bottom housing, properties, let's put in part number, copy and paste, apply. I think I need to make this a little bit bigger. Good, close. Then for trigger, copy and paste, right click on trigger, properties, part number, paste, save. Skipping the spring, the spin pin, copy and paste, properties, part number, save, and then housing top, copy, properties, paste, save, and well, that's supposed to be its own thing, but that's okay. Get the idea though. This is how you would make the bill of materials table. Okay, now with that being said, this is it. We have all the information we need. Now we're going to create a new drawing. ANSI-A. Let it load. We will change the title block information, which I've been doing as the last step, but we have our name, date, the title. Oh wait, I want the top line to be what it's been the whole time. Battle top toy. Double click on that. This should be SkillsUSA 2013. Okay. And then the DWG number, which is the figure number, that's going to be final assembly. Now that that's all in, we'll insert the views. So insert, we need, what do we need? Oh, we need assembly. We need our final assembly. What we need is a section view and the exploded view. So I'd say what I could do is put in the isometric view. The isometric, and we will turn this into an exploded view. There's the isometric view. Let it load. Right click, and then you can, where is it? we'll do shaded view. And then what you'll do is you'll double click on this. Next to explode position, you'll click on explode 1. It's loading, and then you can click on the check mark and move it. Now to get the section view, we're going to have to insert a regular front view. So there's insert, front view's fine. This is only temporary. And then we'll add in a section view, vertical line, going right down the middle. And we'll put it wherever it gets the correct direction. That's it. Good. Okay. Now we don't need this anymore. Oh, well, it seems like we do need it, otherwise it will disappear. So what I'll do is I will just move it off the screen. So when you print, that won't show up. But I can move this down here now. Oh, I do need that to be shaded. Show shaded view. Good, looks nice. And the last thing is to put in the bill of materials table. Or the second to last thing, we have to do the callouts as well. We want to do, based on this one, we want to do bottom to top. We'll click there. So everything's in numerical order. Got all the part numbers, names, quantity, all that. We do have to do the callouts as well. Those are nice and simple though. That's right here. We want the table number, yes. So just like it is over here, we're going to click on each of the parts, anywhere on the parts, and we'll make these go out. So this is pointing to what each of these is. And the numbers aren't lined up correctly though. Oh, that's because we're missing the springs. But it matches what's in the table we have on the page. That's what matters. This one as well. 1. And then we have the housing, the ratchet, and the cone. There, that's it. That's the end. So we will print it, and then you would download this wherever you wanted to. And there it is. Congratulations, you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed. This was a very challenging project, so you should be very pleased with yourself for making it through. So keep up the good work and continue to be great with your 3D modeling.